And now it's time for Mob Talk Radio with your host, Jeff Canarsie.
Yo, Lord Willin, Jeff Canarsie, Mob Talk Radio. Check it out. Yo, we stay quiet like Russell Buffalino when things will get ugly like Pepsi's death in Casino. Who do we know? No one, nobody. But we're all well respected like Della Croce and Gotti. I know wild nights, Havana nocturne. Light up a cigar and watch your spot burn. You'll get patty whacked, I'm tough like Irish dock workers. Run with guys who got guys, hooligans and block lurkers. Corner berserkers, street savvy soldiers. You owe, you better pay. Don't make me say I told you. Code you don't betray, I say what I mean. Providence and Brooklyn all the way to the bean. I'd rather be unseen, like Vinny the Chin. I don't gotta go to Vegas to see cities of sin. Pull the pin, drop bombs like Danny Green. I write homicide like the murder machine. Lansky Luciano, mastermind the racket. Up in the clam house with $1 million in my jacket. Move around when the streets get darker. Pay homage to real bosses like Gambino and Patriarcha. Mob talking, but you don't talk to the mob. Lord Will and Jeff Canarsie, we stay on our job. This is Mob Talk, straight from the streets. Mob Talk, the life of a beats. Lord Will and Jeff Canarsie, bringing you the real. Kill all rats, you already know the deal. This is Mob Talk, straight from the streets. Mob Talk, the life of a beats. Lord Will and Jeff Canarsie, bringing you the real. Kill all rats, you already know the deal.
And welcome to Mob Talk Radio. I am your host, Jeff Canarsie. I hope everybody had a very, very Merry Christmas. I'm sure many of you were straggling to go back to work. Some of you are sleeping on the couch. Some of you are in the fridge. Whatever it is that you're doing, I hope it was a very Merry Christmas. Now, we have a big show today. It's a Q&A. I got hundreds of questions, and I'm going to try to get to as many as I can, but there's a couple of things I wanted to just touch on first before we take a break and come back into the questions. The first thing is that I get a lot of questions about the differences between Italy organized crime and the United States organized crime, and even the differences between Italy and Canada, for that being the matter. Canada is realistically more aligned with the European style of organized crime, and 'Ndrangheta especially, and even Cosa Nostra in general in Canada acts more like European model than American. The European model, look, they kill judges, politicians, they don't hesitate, they blow up bridges, they just don't fuck around. Canada may not be necessarily killing politicians, but they're not fucking around, and they do kill people. It's been nonstop in Canada, and that's the major difference. There's sort of a moratorium in the United States. Not that recently we've seen some stuff coming out of the Bronx with the Zatola hit that went down. But I think the major difference is it's not the 1980s Queens. It's not the Wild Wild West. Guys aren't shooting each other. And a lot of it's just because of how surveillance techniques have changed. I mean, look, there's cameras on every corner in New York City. You can't spit on the ground without being seen. So it makes things very difficult in terms of murder. And murder really, ultimately, at the end of the day, is what keeps people in line. I had a conversation with somebody last night whose name will be totally not mentioned, but that's the thing, and he brought up an excellent point that the streets need to be cleaned. A lot of this stuff that we see, even if we go back to the 60s, there's certain things you couldn't do, certain little gangs that would never have existed more than a couple of days. Times have changed, and I think when the mob stops using murder as sort of the gavel, being hit on the fucking bench of a courthouse, then what are they really afraid of? Guys are getting picked up on wiretaps nonstop, just with the invention of the iPhone itself. So it's one of those things where Italy is still using murder to stop things. Just recently, I think a couple days ago, the brother of somebody who testified was murdered. And that's the Calabrians are controlling the narrative there. That's the way it's been. That's the way it's probably always going to be. And so that's the major difference, is that in 'Ndrangheta, the Calabrians, they're all willing to murder still. They get away with it in Italy, probably because the propensity for video footage is a lot less there than it would be here. But that's really the truth. That's the major difference, is that, and in Italy, too, there's a lot of small clans. I don't know if I said that earlier, but there's very small clannish type of fringe groups. Look at it like a splinter cell of terrorism. That's just how they operate. There's not 5 families in Italy. There's a bunch of families, but there's little subgroups, little splinter cells, and that's just how they operate. They don't operate by phone. They operate by message. They operate by face-to-face meetings. Everything that the American mob used to be, the Calabrians and the Sicilians are in Italy. It's still very old world and old-fashioned over there in how they deal with things. And, they spread like a virus everywhere all over Europe anyway. They're not just stuck into just Italy. They're into Germany. They're taking over the UK as we speak. Still using all traditional rackets, but the fact that they're willing to murder is really what keeps them viable. The minute that nobody fears you, then it's over. The days of and I've said this a million times to people, the days of a guy walking into a street corner bodega and shaking a guy down are over. You just can't do it. I mean, granted, all the bodegas now are owned by Yemenis and etc., and they're not going to take your shit. You can come in there and threaten to beat them up. They're not going to give anything up. They're just going to call the police. So those days are over, and that's really the biggest gap and difference between the two. If New York went back to murder and mayhem, you would probably see guys fall sort of in line pretty quick. That's the one thing that controls the narrative, and it always will. A guy will take a beating all day long. A guy will let you take his money all day long. But if he knows you're not going to kill him, then what's going to be the thing that pushes this guy to the limit to allow him to walk on you? And so until New York goes back to those days, I just don't really see it as being comparable to Italian organized crime as far as being in Italy. So that's really the big difference. And I can do a whole show where we can talk about that and sort of give you the roadmap of Italy and how all that works, because there's a lot of differences. Same sort of structure, just differences in the way that they do things. All right, so the second thing I wanted to talk about was this vulgar show that will be coming out, I believe, in January on MTV, brought to you by Karen Gravano. I think it's called Made in Staten Island, which is sort of tongue-in-cheek and pathetic and disgusting and revolting and makes me want to puke all over myself. But once again, we see the mob genre niche reality show shit coming. If you've ever seen Mob Wives, you know what I'm talking about. I watched the show a little bit, not going to lie, didn't like it, thought it was vulgar and disgusting. I think that this version, and I don't even really know what this mess that Karen Gravano is bringing now is just even more pathetic because it's using kids, 15-year-old kids, and that's pretty vulgar. It doesn't get any more vulgar. It doesn't get any more stereotypical. And so what a lot of people have asked me is, well, if you don't like the show, that's one thing, but, she's just trying to make money. Listen, I got nothing against anybody making money, but what she is really doing is she's making money off her father. Because on her own, I don't think she could sell a fucking used tampon. I'll just be honest with you. I think the fact that she's involving her daughter is a little disgusting. And I say that because there is a big difference between somebody talking about their father's legacy, making money off of the past. I don't have a problem with anybody that does that. But she involved herself in narcotics trafficking. She was the go-between for the narcotics trafficking that Sammy Gravano got caught doing. Her mother was arrested. Her brother Gerard was arrested. The whole fucking family was arrested. She was caught telephonically setting up drug deals and stuff like that. And if she wants to debate that, then we can throw her court files like right in her face. But my thing is this. She's entitled to make a living. I could give a fuck less about any of that. The issue that I have is that she has this fucking attitude that she's a mob princess, and she's full of shit. She's a fucking felon. She's fucking was arrested, and she's lucky she didn't do time. She sold drugs to people. She was involved in that whole entire thing. So I think the minute that you get arrested involved in your father's activities, that sort of makes you different than anybody else who's trying to make money off their father's legacy. That's just my opinion. People are going to disagree with me, but that's my opinion. The other thing, too, is that this pig, and that's what she is a pig, doesn't mention, is Alan Kaiser. I've talked about this over and over and over again to the point of nauseum. If you do not know who Alan Kaiser is, Alan Kaiser was a 17-year-old boy on his birthday who was walking down the street. Sammy Gravano and Louis Melito pull over in a car, sucker him into coming into the car, and they shotgun him to death. Why? Mistaken identity. They thought he was somebody else. It doesn't get any more vulgar than that. Sammy Gravano rats out John Gotti. We know the whole story. Commits 19 murders, at least admitted to 19. Never mind the ones we don't fucking know about. And yet this murder is the one murder of Alan Kaiser that should have put him in prison the rest of his life. And it doesn't, because the FBI has a stance, and the FBI stance is, if there's a bigger fish in the pond, we'll listen to whatever nonsense you spill as long as we get what we want out of the deal. And that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. Sammy Gravano is a fucking scumbag, which is going to bring me to another point, and then I'll wrap it up about Karen Gravano. There's a huge argument online, and there's a question that I got that we'll get into in the show. But the thing is that so many people keep comparing John Gotti to Sammy Gravano, and some people say, oh, no, Gotti was a gangster. So other people are saying, nah, Sammy Gravano's a fucking gangster. Let me tell you something about Sammy Gravano. What makes him a better gangster than anybody? The first thing that they always say, and the first thing that they always come up with, he made money. Okay, a lot of gangsters make money. He killed people. Okay. John Gotti ruined the Mafia with his mouth. Okay. The fact is that Sammy Gravano killed people without telling John Gotti the truth. If you had a business and Sammy wanted it, he'd kill you and take it over. How many people he killed? He killed his own fucking brother-in-law, for Christ's sakes. Who does that? Who does that to take over businesses and et cetera, et cetera? Sammy Gravano lied about made guys to get them clipped so he could take their businesses. That's exactly what he did. And unfortunately, I think John Gotti Sr. realized that way too late in the game. Had he realized that early on that he was being lied to, he would have killed Sammy, and that would have been the end of that. And then you people couldn't run around saying that John Gotti took down the whole fucking Mafia, which isn't true. Sammy Gravano took down the Mafia, not John Gotti. What John Gotti is guilty of is talking too much. I've always said that, and I always will say that. He talked too much. He got caught saying things he shouldn't have. Fine. But he's not the one who testified against 200 and some fucking people. Sammy Gravano, that doesn't make him a gangster. It makes him a rat piece of shit fuck at the end of the day. If you're going to talk in like about the street codes. So for me, was Sammy a gangster? Sure. And in many respects, Sammy was a gangster. In many respects, Sammy was an incredible earner. But the thing that people fail to fucking mention when I see these long posts about what a fucking god Sammy Gravano is, who's been reduced to selling his autographs on eBay, by the way, that ought to tell you something, is that Sammy Gravano just murdered people to take their businesses and get wealthy. Sammy Gravano's god was money, greed. And he would do anything in the world to just kill somebody and take their fucking money. I cannot begin to tell you how many times he did that. Louis Melito had no problem killing him and taking his fucking money and not helping his family. And this was Louis Melito was supposed to be his best friend. But no, he moved on Louis Melito because he wanted his fucking businesses. So he tells John, whispers shit in John's ear that's bullshit and wise and nonsense. John, kill him. And that's the way it goes. And yes, there are going to be arguments people will make with me about, well, in the 1940s, that's what they did. Sure, and I cannot disagree with you. I cannot disagree with you, but there is a big difference between what was going on then and the way that Sammy Gravano behaved in general. The guy's not a fuck. He's a coward. He killed a 17-year-old boy. Never talks about that. And that's what gets me back to Karen Gravano. If you want to live a mafia lifestyle and pretend you're so tough, be tough yourself. She's tough because of her name, and I get it. Sammy Gravano, that last name brings alleged toughness. I get it. I understand it. But when you bring out this fucking awful shit with kids who don't need that. First of all, these kids don't know shit from fucking Cheyenne. They're fucking kids. They don't know anything about the fucking streets. Their parents were all fucking rich. They didn't have to struggle. They don't know what struggle means. They were born with a silver spoon in their fucking mouth. You go back to why the Mafia was even brought into this world. Was for Italians to defend Italians. For them to make money in this new fucking world they just moved to. To try to get ahead. And I'm not arguing morality. But what I'm saying is there's an ends to justify their means in those days. They stuck together. They protected each other. What the fuck does a 15-year-old from Staten Island who drives a fucking BMW, what the fuck do they know about struggle? They don't even fucking work. These kids live off their parents. They're fucking whatever it is that they do. They don't even pay fucking taxes. And you expect me to believe this bullshit trailer of, I'm 15 and if I get in trouble, I'm going to get murder charges. Motherfucker, you don't know anything about murder. You probably have never even killed a fucking fly in your life. But that's what they want you to believe, and that's what reality shows are about. It's not true. It's scripted. It's bullshit. And I give it to Karen Gravano. She knows how to wrap a bullshit story and make money. She's been doing it her whole life. So to each his own. Make your money, do what you got to do, but at the end of the day, you have to live off of your fucking character, not your father's. Because your father's a rat and a scumbag and not respected fucking anywhere. He's respected by the internet mafia trolls who don't know no better. They don't know any better. They don't understand the streets. They don't understand the politics. They don't understand nothing. They see a face. They read 19 murders. And they think, oh, the guy's a tough guy. How many guys he shoot from behind? How many guys he shoot right face to face? Zero. How many guys of those 19 did he murder did he have business contacts with? 18 of the 19. And another thing, I don't even think the Alan Kaiser murder was even put into those 19 murders. Just based on killing a 17-year-old kid makes you a dog and a piece of shit. And a coward. And a fucking coward. And for Karen Gravano to come out and essentially make money off of her father's murders, because that's what this is. Because believe me, without Sammy, Karen couldn't sell shit and a fucking pot to a blind man. The degenerate that she fucking is. But yet they never mention Alan Kaiser. And when somebody does, because somebody did it on her little fucking Instagram page the other day, what do? They delete it. They don't want nobody to see that. How can she explain? The murder of a 17-year-old? Now, there is something I am going to say, and it may piss off a lot of people. But yes, you cannot judge a person by their father's actions. I totally understand that. But she got involved in drug dealing with her father, so for me, that makes her subject to the fucking rule. Not once has she ever come out, and people are going to try to make this a Gotti versus Gravano thing. I'm not talking about the Gotti family, I'm talking about Gravanos. Not once have the Gravanos ever come out and said, you know what my father did was wrong. Instead, what Karen Gravano tells you is, well, I don't know if that's true. My father had to do business. Fuck you, you degenerate slob. And that's how I see it. She's a degenerate fucking slob. Not once. If she reached out to Joy Faraci, Alan Kaiser's sister, and apologized, that would be one thing. It would be another thing if she publicly spoke out and said what my father did was repulsive and wrong. He's still my father, and I love him, but what he did was wrong. She can't do that either. Because I wish Son of Sam laws would prevent her from making any fucking money. Because that's what she's really doing in a roundabout fucking way, in a sneaky backdoor way. She's making money off her father's criminal life. Because she's never amounted to nothing. What has she done? Mob wives. Ooh. Makeup. Ooh. She couldn't do it on her own. And so, do I like Karen Gravano? I don't know Karen Gravano. I don't like what she represents. I don't like her mouth. I don't like the way she behaves. And I really don't like the fact that a 17-year-old boy was killed and nobody seems to give a fuck. You people that sit on Facebook and all this other fucking nonsense. I mentioned that and they're like, that's not true. It isn't. Talk to Joy Faraci. Talk to the Kaiser family. Ask them how the fuck they feel when they have to turn on MTV and see that fucking pig's daughter ranting and raving, acting like a fucking godmother all over TV when their brother got killed at 17. That's my point. I don't care how many mob guys he killed. Listen, that's not even the point I'm making. The point I'm making is, you name me one other motherfucking gangster, one in the history of organized crime, that killed a 17-year-old that was innocent. You can't name one because reality is, it hasn't happened. Yeah, you could talk about Whitey Bulger strangling a broad and all this other nonsense, but that's the point I'm getting to. Is that she careens, she preens, like she struts like a motherfucking peacock. And for what? She's nobody. But you know what? Her show will make money, and that's the truth. And it'll make money because people like a shit show. People like a shit show. Growing Up Gotti, I couldn't stand that show at all. So it's not like I'm being partial to one side or the other here. I'm just telling you the truth. At some point, this nonsense has to stop. And if she took accountability for her actions, which she never has fucking done, she uses it as a sort of a propeller to make her more important than she really is. I just think the reality is that people that are on Facebook and don't know no better worship a piece of shit. The whole family's garbage. That's the truth. Where's the fucking debt? They always say a guy does time, he pays his debt to society, et cetera, et cetera. Where's his fucking pay? Where did Sammy pay his fucking debt? Gets forgiven for 19 murders this 5 years, comes out, starts selling drugs to kids with a bunch of Nazis and all this other shit, drags his whole fucking family, his wife and his daughter into the mix. They all get in trouble. He does 20 fucking years, and he comes out and starts selling autographs like he's fucking Pete Rose. You're a jerk-off. Whole family's a bunch of jerk-offs, and I don't care if people attack me over it. I don't care if she's runs her mouth about me. I really don't give a fuck. Because at the end of the day, I could put my head on my pillow at night knowing I didn't kill a 17-year-old kid. Fucking disgusting, these people. So the show is going to come out in January. Watch it if you want. I admit, I probably will watch one just to at least laugh my ass off on the couch. But I don't prescribe to this nonsense. It's all garbage. Listen, make money however you need to make money. But at some point, have enough respect for human decency and human beings and for the Kaiser family to apologize. But they can't do it. They can't do it. And that's what makes me sick. That's what makes me fucking just sick with these people. They're not fucking gangsters. They're garbage. We'll be back on Mob Talk Radio. In my travels, I'm always looking for a clothing brand that I feel like represents me. Anybody can go to a store and buy a t-shirt with a gimmick, but if you believe in 3 core values like I do, loyalty, honor, and respect, then look no further than Omerta brand clothing. You can catch them at omertamia.com, OMERTAMIA.com, with locations in Europe, California, Boston, Brooklyn, Florida, Pennsylvania, and Washington. They have a great clothing line with hats, shirts, sweatshirts, keychains, anything you might need, stickers. You want the rats to stop snitching? Go right out and get yourself a sticker. But if you want to live your life by the gentleman's code, look no further than Omerta brand clothing. And welcome back to Mob Talk Radio. The other thing I wanted to mention, and I forgot to do this at the beginning, was, the Flanagans. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about that, but not a whole lot, because there's a lot I just can't get into right now because contracts and et cetera, et cetera. But for those that are asking, it is going to essentially be about an Irish crime family based out of Boston and somewhat Rhode Island. 70s time period piece. There'll be references to some historical stuff as well. Yes, there is an Italian contingent to that as well. But it's basically going to be something. It's not going to be The Sopranos. A lot of people think that The Sopranos is the way that the mob genre should be these days, and this is completely different. Insanely violent. There's a family contingent to this whole thing, almost a Catholic overtone to it as well. Excuse me. So it's really going to be, I think, looking at it, and obviously, anytime you sit down and you write something, there's 15 incarnations of it. And when I say 15 incarnations of it, what I really mean at the end of the day is what you start with is not what you end with. We've got a lot of people attached to this, and I think it's going to be really good. And I'm not saying that just because I created it. It's just that when certain things align and come together really well and a story is weaved really good, I think that it offers a bit of everything to everybody. And I think that, like with Sopranos, I'm not saying The Sopranos is one-dimensional, because I'm a huge fan of the show, obviously. But I think it's one-dimensional in the sense of you're dealing with the Soprano family, then the criminality aspect of that, the family relationships, and then you sort of pull New York into that a little bit. So you by the end of the show, you obviously get 3 dimensions. But I think with what the Flanagans is and will be is going to be all out insanity. I think that the fact that anytime you can take something and make it a period piece, you're opening the doors for a lot of different things. And obviously there will be Whitey Bulger references, there will be Winter Hill Gang references, but it's not based on Whitey Bulger. It's not based on anything other than Irish organized crime. And obviously when you have Irish organized crime, you're going to have Italian organized crime as well. So there's going to be an Italian side to that. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how that's going to go. Seth Nicoletti's going to be in it. There's a whole bunch of people that are going to be in it. And Seth's a really good dude and a close friend of mine, a great actor. incredible jazz drummer. And so I'm looking forward to that. And I think that a lot of people are going to be very surprised at how good this is going to be. And I look forward to it. I wish I could give you dates and give you more information than that, but it's really in the pre-production phase, and there's a lot of stuff that needs to get done. So as that progresses, we'll definitely get into that. Now, as far as the webpage, a lot of people have been asking me about that. I really honestly think now it's going to be February. And I say that because I've got Scott Williams Collier coming over, who does the True Crime Podcast, who talks about serial killers and British organized crime and etc. He's coming over, and I kind of want to sit down and get into the whole gist of the webpage with him. He's a friend of mine, and he's sort of my partner in a couple of different things. So I think sitting down with him and just coming to an agreement on what exactly we want it to be in its totality is probably going to be the right thing to do. But as we get closer and I know more, look for like the first week of January for me to make some announcements on that, maybe the second week in January. So we've got that going on. Other than that, I wanted to say hello to a friend of mine, RV. Yes, RV is a friend of mine. RV is great. Fantastic. I adore RV. All right, so all that being said, any questions, comments, complaints, you know where to send them. You can reach us at Twitter at RealMobTalk7. Give us a follow, give us a like, whatever. Bash us, whatever you want to do. Also on Facebook, type in Mob Talk Radio. You will be able to find us there as well. If you're not following Ciro DiPaggio, check him out. He's got a lot of different projects going on. The Mob King, just a whole bunch of different projects he's got going on. So type in Ciro DiPaggio on Facebook. Check his stuff out. Check some of the film stuff out he's done. And that should give you sort of a hint as to where the Flanagans are going. Now, as far as the questions, I got a lot of questions. I'm going to try to get to as many as I can, but like anything else, I'm really trying to keep my Q&As like right around an hour and 10 minutes. This one may be a little shorter, a little longer. Sometimes I go off trail a little bit, as you know. So all that being said, we'll get to the questions. And look forward to next week, all new topic, all new show. And when Scott comes over, he'll be here January 3rd through the 10th. We're going to do a show together. So that should be disastrous in a million different ways. Now, it'd be a good show. I don't know what Scott and I particularly are going to talk about, but we may just talk about the Flanagans. I'm going to try to get Ciro on at some point. Also, I'm going to have Tommaso Rosiello and Seth Nicoletti on at some point to talk about a million different things. And also wanted to talk about Brooklyn Ties, which is their other show they're doing. So hopefully we can get all that taken care of this month, but we will see. I'm trying to get that stuff done before we launch the new webpage and etc. So all that being said, let's get to the questions. And like I said, if I didn't get to your question, it doesn't mean that I didn't want to answer it or I couldn't answer it. It just simply means that I may have already gotten it. And it may just be something sort of aligned with something that's current, and I really try to give people that I may or may not know a little levity and not talk about active things, just out of respect to them, and that's just sort of how I roll. So, all right, were the Castellanos still a powerhouse by the time Big Paul Castellano got whacked? If so, why didn't they make a move on Gotti? All right, I seem to get this incarnation of questions like a lot of times, and truly the truth is this. The Castellanos, pre-Carlo Gambino coming to New York via Sicily, were a big-time crime family. Not a crime family in the extent of they were their own entity, but they really had their hands in a lot of rackets. The Castellanos were a powerful bunch of people back in those days. But to say that the Castellanos were a powerhouse when the Gotti regime started to come into play is really nonsense. Castellano was a business guy. And depending on what kind of circles you're in and people you talk to, there are people that really respected Paul Castellano for what he was able to do business-wise. But the problem has always been and always will be that Paul Castellano really wasn't a street guy in terms of pulling the trigger. He took a pinch like a man and didn't say anything. I think it was an attempted armed robbery or something to that extent. Never said anything, and that's the one thing that sort of established him as a guy who wouldn't talk. But moving towards the 80s with a lot of problems with Ruggiero and Gotti and Della Croce, to say that the Castellanos were a powerhouse at that point, no. The Gambinos were, but the Gambinos also wanted a gangster as boss and not a businessman. I think, too, and this is very symptomatic of how guys feel on the streets when your boss is talking about the police and he's calling police heroes. That sort of sends a bad signal. I think Paul's focus was on business, making money, legitimizing himself as much as he could, which any boss in their right mind would do, and many before him did, and many after him have as well. But I think the reality is that he played his cards wrong. And John Gotti did nothing that anybody before him didn't do. So the idea that Gotti somehow did something that was like so reckless and different, it just isn't the case. It's been done that way since the very beginning. And they didn't make a move on Gotti. And the reason why, and that's been highly debatable, is that I think Castellano misjudged who John Gotti was. I think he misjudged Dela Croce. And that's just the reality of it. He made a fatal mistake, and he paid dearly for it. All right, can you tell me anything about little Pete Tambone? I think I can. Tambone was basically a drug trafficker. He was a former member of the Gambinos, but then actually gets reinstated back into the Gambino crime family by John Gotti in 1986. Some would tell you because he was a shooter on the Castellano hit. Others will tell you he wasn't. But Tambone had basically been shelved by Paul Castellano for his part in the drug trafficking nonsense that Angelo Ruggiero and allegedly Gene Gotti were involved in. Castellano pretty much wanted to kill Tambone, but was pretty much talked out of it. And Tambone really, he's the guy that gets arrested in that drug narcotics conspiracy, which ended up bringing Ruggiero into the fold and Gene Gotti into the fold. And he's the one who gets arrested, who sparks the indictment against them. But it's Ruggiero who basically goes to Tambone and says, look, just tell Paul, admit to money laundering profits, but you never touch narcotics. We never touch narcotics. And that move likely saved Tambone's life at the end of the day. So that's pretty much a very short narrative on Lil Pete Tambone. All right, who was tougher, Neil Dela Croce or Francis? I don't know if you're talking about Michael. Yeah, right. Or Sonny. John Francis was absolutely fucking tough. He's 101 years old. He's a big, tough guy still. I can only imagine the things that this guy has seen in his life. But who is tougher? That's a hard mix for me. It's a hard question to answer because each one of them in their own were pretty nasty individuals and got business done. So for my money, I think probably John Francis was tougher. Obviously, I think because they were around in the same time period, but Sonny Francis was an absolute tough guy, had no problem handling business. It doesn't make Dela Croce weak by any stretch of the imagination. They're just two different people. So for my money, I think Sonny Francis was tougher. All right, what was the relationship between Carlo Gambino and Anastasia before Gambino killed him? First of all, I wasn't there, so I couldn't really tell you. I think second of all, I think the relationship was probably very strong. The murder of Anastasia was an end to justify the means for Gambino. We've talked about it before. Genovese and Gambino were in on that. Genovese wanted to take over for himself, so he agreed to help Gambino kill Anastasia because Gambino and Anastasia were relatively the same age, and Gambino wanted to take over the reins. He wanted to be boss, and he didn't see another way of doing it. He didn't want to wait it out, and that's essentially why he moved on Anastasia. But I would assume, if we're going to talk murder conspiracy, that things were probably very respectful. They probably got along quite well because obviously Anastasia never expected or even thought for a second that Gambino would move on him, and he did. So obviously that relationship must have been very strong. Otherwise, I don't think Anastasia would have put himself in that situation. All right, did Dominic Cirillo have his own son killed? It depends on who you talk to. The FBI believes that he absolutely okayed the murder. But to say that he had his own son killed and he's the one that made the call and said, I want you to kill my son, I've never believed that. But a little background on this was that Dom Cirillo Jr. disappeared on Mother's Day of 2004. He was a Genovese-made guy, and he got into an altercation with Vinny Basciano and Dom Sicali, who were Bonanno guys. According to the FBI, Dominic Cirillo Sr., who was his father, okayed the hit. But on the back end of all of that, there was a tape that had been played in the trial of Joey Massino, which implicated Cirillo. The conversation took place between 2005 between Massino and Vinny Basciano, where Massino recorded the conversation, and Vinny Basciano was basically blaming Dominic Cirillo Sr. for going ahead and giving the okay for his son Dom Jr. to be killed. It was really the father's choice, and it, according to the FBI and court transcripts, it really came down to Dominic Sr. making that call. Also, there was a video that surfaced at the Messino trial, which was showing Messino making the sign of a gun to Basciano and asking Basciano, did we have anything to do with that? And the reason why, first of all, Messino's asking that question because he wants to indict Basciano. That's the first thing. The second thing is he's trying to make sure that they were not responsible for that, because a made guy getting killed really creates a fucking issue. Basciano responds to Messino, absolutely not. That came from the father. That came from the father. What makes this more interesting is that the Genoveses ended up apologizing to the Bonanos for the altercation in general, but a made guy had been killed, which was against all the mob rules at the time. But Messino, who ended up testifying, said that Dominic Cirillo Sr. And his son didn't like each other. They were estranged. They had problems. Making it more auspicious is that a boss would have been entitled to serious retribution for a made guy getting killed, but at the end of the day, nothing was done. So it sort of lends itself to the idea that the father probably, in some way, form, or fashion, signed off on his own son getting killed. Also, it's worth noting that Cirillo didn't help the police. When the police came to him and sort of questioned him about his son, his disappearance, he didn't have anything to say. On one hand, that is the code. You don't talk about things. On the other hand, they didn't like each other. They didn't get along. So the reality is, do I think he did it? I would hope that a father would never go that far and have his own son killed, or at least wave off and say, yeah, go ahead. But if you want to believe what Joey Messino has to say, if you want to believe the court wiretaps and et cetera, then it sort of lends itself to the idea that he did. I don't know. I would hope he didn't, but perhaps he did. All right, there's a lot of suspicion around Vito Rizzuto's death. Some people, do you believe he was poisoned, as most people say, or that he died of natural causes? With his body being cremated before the autopsy could be done, I guess we're never going to know for sure, but I was just wondering. This is really, honest to God, the first time that I've ever heard this. I don't think Vito Rizzuto was poisoned. I think he died a natural death. There really, at the time, wasn't a reason for any. Obviously, there was a reason to kill him if like Andrangeta guys wanted to take over, Calabrians wanted to take over, et cetera, that would make kind of sense. But I don't think so, because Rizzuto was a stand-up guy. He was a tough guy. I just don't see that as being really the evolution of truth. I think he died on his own. But there could be an argument made that they went after him too, and that's the method they would have used. But I don't think so. Just my opinion. All right, when Mikey Flat Top DeRosa and Messi Marvin Moran shot Greg Scarpa, why was there no retaliation? Well, there was. There was a brief sort of retaliation, but it wasn't what you think it would be. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that there were rumors on the streets that Greg Scarpa was a rat, which would have been accurate. And I think that when you have a very public shootout like that and Greg Scarpa's eye gets blown out of his head, and he simply just goes home with his fucking FBI GPS bracelet on his ankle and just pushes his eye back into his head and drinks a scotch and waits for the police, that says a lot. I don't think that... the Colombo War had been going on for a long time. Anyway, obviously, Greg Scarpa was on Carmine Persico's team, and there's all this other shit that's going on, Vic Arena and all of that. I just think at the end of the day, the reason why you didn't see a massive retaliation is because who the fuck wants to get involved in that? It was pretty bad as it was at the time, and I think the fact that a lot of people thought Scarpa was an informant would have kept them away from that battle, so to speak, and that's reality. Okay. Your thoughts on Ralph Natale. I read somewhere that Joey straightened him out in the 90s, but he was working with the Philly mob since the 1940s. All right, Ralph Natale is a dog. Ralph Natale is full of shit. Ralph Natale is delusional as fuck. As far as I know, and this is not verbatim from anybody's mouth, but as far as I know, Joey did straighten him out. Ralph Natale has a very interesting way of rewriting history, making himself a New York-made guy, then a Philly-made guy, and being involved in Hoffa, being involved in JFK, and all this crazy nonsense that these guys make up. But the reality is that Ralph Natalya was a pawn in a bigger game. People in Philadelphia may not like what I have to say about it, but the truth is, as far as I'm concerned, is Joey used him. Joey fucking used Ralph Natalya. And the way that Joey used Ralph Natalya is, you stand out front, you be the front guy, I'll sit behind the scenes and do my thing, and look what happens. Previty comes around. Ron Previty, the fat fuck. Joey Merlino, I'm Ron Previty, and I can't talk without swallowing my fucking tongue in a hoagie at the same fucking time. All right, so there's your Ron Previty joke again, but Natalya allows Previty to come around, and Joey insulates himself incredibly well from that. So when Ron Previty goes to essentially testify, he can't get Joey clammed up for anything. Joey's smarter than that. And who takes it in the ass? Ralph Natalya. And deservedly so. Ralph Natalya was a fucking bumbling moron. But he wants to rewrite history like a lot of these fucking guys, make himself out to be like the fucking Joe Bonanno of Philadelphia. And the reality is he isn't. He was a pawn in a bigger game. He was put out as a front boss. And look what happened. So, in my opinion, Ralph Natalya's a blowhard. I think he just, when these guys become rats and they write books, they got to make it sound interesting. And I get it. It's entertainment. But believe it or not, Ralph Natalya was not feared by many people. I think John Stanfield was more feared than Natalya ever could be. But Joey's smart like that. Joey knows what he's doing in terms of isolating himself, insulating himself, and letting other people get themselves in trouble. And God bless him for doing that. All right. Let's see. I got a question, and I should have written this down, but it has to do with Jimmy Hoffa, and it has to do with Jimmy Hoffa sitting outside the Red Fox Macchia's restaurant waiting for hours and hours and hours for Tony Provenzano. And people wanted to know why in the hell Jimmy Hoffa would wait that long. And the reason why is simple. He had trouble. He had big-time trouble. And basically, just to give you a quick backdrop of all of this, Jimmy Hoffa went to prison, and it was the mob that pretty much bribed LBJ to get him out early. And the mob, in the interim, while Hoffa was in prison, had really installed somebody else. I think the guy's last name was Green. I could be wrong. I probably am wrong. I don't have it sitting in front of me. But basically, they had another guy that now was the Teamsters boss, somebody who they could control a lot better, somebody who wasn't mouthy, somebody who didn't like the spotlight. And it worked out well for the mob. They liked that agreement. They liked that friendship. They were able to siphon more money out of Vegas for the Teamsters Union to build casinos and do other things. And it was just quiet. And that's the way the Mafia wanted it. With Jimmy Hoffa, he couldn't shut his fucking mouth for any reason. He wanted to battle the Kennedys publicly. That was a fucking mistake. And so when Hoffa goes away, the mob breathes a sigh of relief. Thank God he's fucking gone. We don't have to deal with the mouth. The problem is when Hoffa gets out, he wants to run for the Teamsters again. And the agreement is, Jimmy, you're retired, be done with it. And Jimmy didn't want to do that. And Jimmy's way of handling it was, well, I'm going to run again, and if you try to fucking do anything, I'm going to drop a dime, and I'm going to tell everybody who the fuck is really behind the Teamsters. So now he's got a problem with the Mafia. He's got a problem in Chicago. He's got a problem with Tony Provenzano, who's been wanting him dead for years. And so there was going to be a sit-down, because they wanted to really tell Jimmy, we're not fucking around. This is over. They were going to kill him. But Jimmy was under the idea that he needed to make peace with Tony Provenzano to stop all this nonsense. What Jimmy Hoffa doesn't realize is he's going to get clipped. And so why does he sit there? Because Jimmy Hoffa was in a no-win situation. If Jimmy Hoffa doesn't wait and he takes off and disappears, he's going to get killed anyway. So I think if I have to put myself in Jimmy Hoffa's mind frame for a second, I think the reality is that he is trying to A, save his life, B, he's trying to get whatever little political power he had back, and he has to sort of take everybody's temperature. Now, when I say take a temperature, some people, street people know what I'm talking about, but sometimes you got to take somebody's temperature, right? You got to see how they're feeling, got to see if they're still mad, got to see if they're edgy before you meet with them, because you don't want to meet with somebody that's like agitated and seems like disgruntled, because that could be a problem. So you take a temperature. I take people's temperature all the time, just depending on, even if it's friends I've known for 20 years. If they've been going through shit, I call them, hey, how you doing, how you feeling? That's taking somebody's temperature. And I think that's essentially what happened in this case. And Jimmy Hoffa waited because to not meet with them meant that Jimmy Hoffa would be killed. And he knew it. And that's why he waits all day. Anybody else, that probably would have been highly suspect to them. It probably would have scared the hell out of them. But, Jimmy Hoffa felt comfortable because Frank Sheeran was around. And that's exactly why. All right, who was more powerful, Pablo Escobar or Toto Rina? Ooh, man. Well, both of them had politicians killed. Both of them blew up fucking roads. I think Toto Rina had more power, and I'll tell you why. Escobar could probably pick up the phone and have people killed in Colombia, have people killed in California. But Rina could do this on a massive... Well, and so could Escobar, so I take that back. Actually, I take all this back. Let me phrase it this way. Rina in Italy was the fucking man. He could dial a button and it's over with. He killed politicians. Escobar killed politicians. But Escobar had balls. Big balls. Because Escobar tried to get involved in politics and run as a senator in fucking Colombia. He flaunted his wealth. He flaunted everything that he did. And he basically said, look, I'm a fucking narcotics trafficker. Go fuck your mother. You come after me, I'll kill your whole family. And he would. Whereas Rina was more in the shadows, more cloak and dagger. But I think reality, I think Rina moved more people probably globally than Escobar could. And when I mean move them globally, meaning Rina could set things up anywhere, as could Escobar. But I think Rina just had a more depth to him than Escobar ever did. So in terms of a button pusher, I think Escobar was a big button pusher, and I think he could get shit done. I also think Rina could get shit done, but I think Escobar, in terms of what his general racket was, which was narcotics, I think definitely makes him more powerful in a sense, especially in the United States, southern, Mexico, Colombia, some places in Europe. But it's a tough one for me because both are very powerful. But I think Escobar, when you have lunatics on your side, it's very easy to push a button and a lunatic will do whatever you want. Whereas Rina, probably of the two, was the more let me think this process out kind of a guy. All right. Did John Stampa have any connections to the Cherry Hill Gambinos through Tommy Gambino? And did they refuse to back Stanfa during the last Civil War in Philly? Yes, he did have connections with the Cherry Hill Gambinos, and Stanfa was very connected to the Gambino crime family. It was, in fact, the Gambinos and the Genoveses who sent Stanfa from New York back to Philly to run things because they did not want Joey Merlino to run things at the time, I think probably because of his age and just the unsettling bullshit that was going on there. However, as far as the Gambinos not backing Stanfa, the Gambinos threw their fucking hands up. And here's why. You have two different factions. You have John Stanfa and his guys, and then you have Ralph Natale and Joey Merlino on his side. Joey Merlino and co. are the younger guys, the knock-around guys from the neighborhood, whereas John Stanfa was a zip who had old-world fucking ways and old-world things about him. The Gambinos are not going to get involved in that. If you look at historically, Angelo Bruno gets whacked, and Vinny the Chin Gigante is the one that's really behind getting Nicky Scarfo and his boss, which turned out to be a fucking nightmare for Philadelphia and for the New York mob, because obviously Philip Leonetti turns, and he took down never mind how many fucking people in New York, testified at the John Gotti trial as well. So I think that the safe thing to say here is that the Gambinos threw their hands up. And why do they throw their hands up? They're shooting each other in the fucking streets. The Gambinos don't want any part of that nonsense. They don't want to be a part of that political gangland turf shit. It's better for them to step back, let them kill each other, and then once the dust settles, we're going to let somebody be boss, and that'll be good for business. Because at the end of the day, at that time period, especially the 90s, if we compare it to like Lucky Luciano always believed that everybody getting along was best for business. We're killing each other, we're losing money. Let's all just agree to be criminals together, make money, sharing the wealth, and murder is only the last end resort of business. And unfortunately, there was a civil war in Philadelphia. A lot of shit was going on. And I think the reality is the Gambinos just didn't want a part of it because they don't want to get caught up in all the murders that are going on there. They don't want to get caught up in all the nonsense because that's bad for their business. And who wants to go to jail for like Joey Merlino and John Stanfa firing bullets at each other? Nobody does. So it's not a matter of if they didn't back Stanfa. They just realized it was out of control and it was better for them to stay the fuck out of it. But one can also make an argument that if the Gambinos and the Genoveses did not want Joey Merlino around, they would have killed him. It'd have been as simple as that. They would have gotten involved and killed him, and they didn't. So I think a lot of it was posturing on the fact of the Gambinos and the Genoveses, the Lucchese's and Colombos, and the Bonanos. They just sat back and watched. Let the cards fall where they may. It was probably a smart move on their behalf. All right, Appalachian was a meeting. Appalachian was the meeting really found out by a state trooper. It's hard for me to believe that one state trooper single-handedly derailed the biggest mob meeting ever. You're absolutely right, because that's not how it happened. Somebody dropped a dime. Now, we can sit here for the next 3 hours and debate who dropped the dime, but everybody that I have talked to that was sort of around back then that are still alive, and everybody that knows somebody always kind of says the same thing, that Joe Bonanno was the guy behind that. He's the one that dropped the fucking dime. Because listen, just because you see New York plates in upstate New York doesn't make anything different. Just because you see an Indiana plate doesn't make anything different. They want to paint this facade that this guy was minding his own business and he sees all these luxury cars with different plates. Let's be realistic. When you're in New York, right, and you see New York plates, how is that fucking suspicious? It's not. Somebody dropped a dime. I've always thought it was Bonanno. That's what people say. But do I have proof? No. Was I there? No. But I think he definitely had something to do with that. And I think that has to do with Vito Genovese, who wanted the meeting to be recognized as a boss, was attempting to be the boss of bosses, which turned out to be a nightmare for the mob. I think that was the biggest fucking... next to Joe Valachi, I think Appalachian was the biggest disaster for the Mafia and organized crime ever in the history of organized crime. So no, I don't believe it was a state trooper. Somebody dropped a dime. Can I prove it was Bonanno? No. Do I happen to believe it was? Absolutely. Do I know why I think he would do that? Yes. He was very angry, very bitter. He wanted power for himself. He didn't like Vito Genovese. So there you go. That's usually enough to get it going. All right. Was Bill Bonanno a respected member of La Cosa Nostra outside being the son of a boss, and did he have any significant rackets? No. Bill Bonanno was a stand-in for his father. Bill Bonanno was not a tough guy. Bill Bonanno was not a fucking shooter. He did not have a ton of rackets. He just simply controlled the flow of business while his father was in hiding. That's the legitimacy of it. I'm not saying that Bill Bonanno was not a good guy. I'm not saying he wasn't a tough guy, but he wasn't a gangster. Let's be realistic. Bill Bonanno, whose real name was Salvatore, was not a gangster. He simply stood in for his family, which really tells you something about Joe Bonanno's character when there's a war breaking out and you put your son at the front of it and you go hide. To me, that's a little disgusting. Joe Bonanno has a lot of qualities about him that I do like, but he's got a lot of qualities about him I despise. It's not to badmouth him, not to trash him. I just have a certain way that I think and a certain way that I believe, and any guy that puts his son in harm's way like that, there's something fucked up and wrong about that. So Bill Bonanno was really not your prototypical gangster. He was the son of a gangster who just basically stood there and got shot at for what? Because his father wanted to hide, because his father made mistakes. Something to be said about the bravery of that. Something to be said for Bill Bonanno being an absolute stand-up guy about the situation. But he was not somebody that anybody took very seriously, and I'll be honest with you. And you can read the Joe Bonanno book and watch the movie and all this bullshit, but a lot of it was bullshit and nonsense. All right, why did Vito Genovese and Vinny the Chin get away with the Costello attempted hit? By Mafia rules, shouldn't they have been killed? Absolutely, unequivocally, they should have. The fact that Genovese and Vincent the Chin got away with that is beyond my understanding. But once again, this is very tongue-in-cheek. When we mention Mafia rules only apply when it has to. As we've seen from the beginning of time, Lucky Luciano takes out 2 bosses. Carlo Gambino takes out several bosses. So the idea that they live by a code that they follow every day, 365 days a year, it just isn't fucking true. They do what they have to do for business, bottom line. But if we are going to go by the Mafia rules, which I'm going to bring up, Mafia rules, how do you really know what the Mafia rules are? What, because The Godfather told you so? Because Goodfellas tells you so? Unless you're there, unless you know people, you don't know the rules. So we're living on a very figmented, imaginatory sort of thing. The Mafia, the FBI is not the authority on the Mafia. Writers are not the authority on the Mafia. Unless you're in the Mafia, you only know basically what you know. And I say that even about myself or anybody of my contemporaries that do this. Unless you're been involved, you really don't know. But if we're going to go by a street code, then yeah, they should have been killed. But you also have to understand that Vito Genovese was a one-man fucking wrecking crew, wasn't afraid of anybody, and Vito Genovese should have been killed for it. But he made his move. Luciano is in exile, can't do anything about it. And at the time, the mob was done with Luciano. They were ready to make a transition, ready to make a change. And so the guy who's going to make that call is Luciano, and he can't make the call because he's in exile, and the mob is done with Luciano at the time. So that's why he gets away with it. All right, who was the better legitimate businessman, Joe Profaci or Paul Castellano? Of the two, I think that Joe Profaci was a great businessman, but I think Paul Castellano, hands down, was really great at legitimizing a lot of things. Secondly, who was the most powerful, although disliked in Cosa Nostra? Joe Profaci was the most disliked of the bunch, I think, because there were a lot of problems there. Very similar problems between Profaci and Castellano with their men as well. But the more powerful of the two was probably Paul Castellano, just because he had a larger family. All right, how powerful was the Detroit partnership with the East Coast families? They were absolutely integral because, one, they held the fucking line in Hamilton, Ontario. They held the line between Buffalo and Canada. They were very instrumental in Teamsters stuff. They were very instrumental in Chicago and with Jimmy Hoffa. So they definitely had an impact regardless. Is Stefano Magaddino's reign as boss and a member of the commission underrated? No, I don't think so. I think, if anything, it was overrated. Stefano Magaddino was a good boss related to Joe Bonanno, but I don't think he was that powerful. And really, I don't, at the end of the day. So I don't think he was underrated. I think it was just even-keeled of where it needed to be. All right, was there any dealings between the Winter Hill Gang and the Gambino crime family, especially considering the Gotti crew? Absolutely zero. None. Who was more powerful and ruthless, Jimmy Burke or Whitey Bulger? Okay, the most powerful of the two is still Jimmy Burke. Jimmy Burke could just ask something and it gets done. The more ruthless of the two, probably Whitey Bulger, because Jimmy Burke was not going to kill a woman. So that makes Whitey Bulger a little more ruthless in that sense. All right. Is the kickback system of money going up the chain the same or different compared to back in the day? What family, in your opinion, usually makes the most money and has the richest boss? That's going to come between the Genovese crime family and the Gambino crime family. Of those two, I think the Genoveses. They've still got construction in the garment district, and that's always going to bring money. As far as the kickback system, it's the same as it's always been. The percentages may change depending on who's boss. Like if you look at Carlo Gambino, and this is not an exact figure, but let's say Gambino wants 10% from all the soldiers, okay? Paul Castellano comes, he wants 35%, and that's why people rebelled against Castellano, because he wanted more money, but yet had never paid his dues in the streets. All right, did Vito Rizzuto sit on the commission? No, he never did. Not at all. Bad Blood, have you seen it? No, I haven't, and everybody keeps telling me Bad Blood is about the Rizzuto crime family. I think it stars Anthony LaPaglia. I have not seen it yet, but everybody I know that has, even street guys that I know that have seen it, said it's fantastic. I haven't looked at it, I haven't seen it, but once I do, I will let you know. All right, what are your thoughts? What are your honest thoughts about John Gotti as a boss? Okay. All right, first thing out of the gate, John Gotti was a street guy, hands down. Okay, that's the first thing. Second thing is under John Gotti's reign, the Gambino crime family made more money ×4 than they ever did with Paul Castellano. So Gotti knew how to run the machine. 3, John Gotti was highly respected and feared at the same time. That's number 3. Number 4, John Gotti took his fucking pinch like a man, and he went and he suffered in prison, which makes him a man's man. No matter what anybody says about John Gotti, the one thing you can never take away from that guy is that he took a conviction and he went to jail and suffered the rest of his life. How many guys of that era didn't do that? So those are 4 or 5 positive things. John Gotti's weakness was John Gotti. And I've been on record as saying it. This shouldn't surprise anything. The one thing that John Gotti did that he should have never done. He learned to duck. He should have, but here's my argument. One, yeah, did he get caught on tapes? Absolutely, that was a fucking disaster. I can't get around that. I can't make an excuse for that. He got caught on tapes. His own mouth got him in trouble. But at the same time, there are other bosses that's happened to. So that doesn't make him any different in any stretch of the imagination. Okay? So I'm not giving that an excuse. But what I'm telling you is he's not the only one that's happened to. Many others before him, many after him, many that will come down the fucking road the next decade are going to have the same thing happen. Okay? It only gets amplified because of who John Gotti is. Should John Gotti have learned to stay away from cameras and et cetera, et cetera? Sure, absolutely. But what do you want the guy to do? He has to go out. He has to do certain things. Did he need to go bouncing at the clubs? No. Did he need to be hanging outside the social club on Tuesday nights with everybody watching? No, absolutely not. Totally agree with people when they say that to me. However, at the same time I tell you that, what's he supposed to do? Sit in his house all day and do nothing? The press chased him. Now, for people who goes, no, he loved the limelight because he said to Sammy, oh, look at my friends, look at these people, they all adore me. That's coming from Sammy's mouth. It's not coming from John Gotti's mouth. That's coming from what Sammy Gravano has to say, and Sammy Gravano's a liar and a rat. So, should John Gotti have sort of stayed in the shadows more? Absolutely. Should John Gotti have kept his mouth shut a little more? Absolutely. But that doesn't take away from him being a gangster. So, is he on my top 5 boss list? No, absolutely not. His run was incredibly short. It wasn't very long. He's not Carlo Gambino. So, was he a good boss? In many ways, absolutely. He transformed the Gambino crime family. But did he harm the Gambinos at the same time? Sure, absolutely. That doesn't make him the worst boss ever. Nicky Scarfo, by far, I think, was the worst boss we've ever seen in the Mafia. Joey Massino, same kind of deal. So, my point is this, is that for everything you try to blame John Gotti for, and I'm not standing on a soapbox and putting on my John Gotti t-shirt, that's not what this is about. The point is that you cannot hold one accountable and not hold others accountable who did the same shit, who got caught doing the same shit. You can't sit there and say, oh, he killed Paul Castellano and brought down the whole Gambino crime family. If he brought down the Gambino crime family, there wouldn't be a Gambino crime family. Sammy Gravano brought down the fucking Gambino crime family. John Gotti didn't help because he got caught saying things. But people want to blame John Gotti for Sammy becoming a rat. Sammy became a rat because he was soft, because he was weak, he was a coward. You can't blame somebody else for somebody else becoming a rat. You become a rat because you're weak. You don't want to do prison time. Oh, well, if John Gotti wouldn't have said this about Sammy, oh, come on, get out of here. Mob guys are gossipers by fucking nature. Are you kidding me? If anybody is listening to this show, you know a street guy, they all gossip. They're worse than women. They all gossip. Trust me. I've been around enough, heard it enough, and seen it enough. They all gossip. That's just the way it is. So, is he in my top 5? No. Is he in my top 10? Sure. But not my top 5. All right. Who was more powerful, Tony Accardo or Russell Buffalino? Russell Buffalino, hands down, was. Tony Ducks or Paul Castellano? Paul Castellano. Nicky Scarfo or John Stanfa? Nicky Scarfo. Vito Genovese or Albert Anastasia? Vito Genovese. Carlos Marcello or Frank Costello? I'm going to say Frank Costello because Frank Costello owned politicians. Joe Bonanno or Vincent Mangano? Joe Bonanno, I think. Carmine Persco or Joey Massino? Carmine Persco, hands down. Salvatore Maranzano or Joe Masseria? Maranzano, definitely. All right, was Lucky Luciano a rat? Yes, absolutely he was. In terms of, did he testify against anybody? No. But did he provide information to the cops about his rivals? Sure. But if you go back to those days, that's just the way things were done. Does that make him a rat in a street code? Sure, it absolutely does. But that was commonplace in those days. So, did people do time behind Luciano talking? Absolutely. But it's not a situation where he went into a courtroom and testified either. These guys dropped dimes on each other, fed information to cops who would feed it to their superiors who would get everybody arrested so that way they could take over a racket. That's the way things were done in those days. It's so different than the way today's time period works. So you sort of have to make that adjustment. All right, is it true that John DeFranco died? He was worth $5 billion. Absolutely not. I don't know where that number comes from. Not even close. Is Jimmy the Weasel Fradiano's book truthful? Overall, how do you think it holds up? I don't think I think look, any one of these rats that writes a book, maybe 10% is truth and the rest is all bullshit and nonsense. Does it hold up? Absolutely not. Not in a million years. But was there some truth to it? Sure, absolutely. There's always truth to everything. It always even legends spur from truth. But was Jimmy Fradiano like overblown like everybody else? Sure, absolutely. So does it hold up? No, it doesn't hold water for me. All right. Does high-level Cuban organized crime still exist in places like Miami, New York City, and New Jersey? Absolutely it does. Listen, any organized crime group that's ever been around always still exists in some form or fashion, but was it like it was in the 60s? Absolutely not. Things change. Times change. All right. Why does George Ratastasia and Dave Schratweasel continue to report that Philadelphia has gone legitimate and nothing remains of it? Are they full of shit, or is there some truth to it? From what I can tell you is this. The Mafia exists in Philadelphia, okay? Let's not play stupid. The Mafia will always exist in Philadelphia. However, the one thing that the mob is doing typically these days is they're legitimizing themselves. I have often said this about Philadelphia, and I will continue to say it. It's a small area, small territory. Guys got to earn money. And so is Philadelphia legitimate? No. I mean, there's no mafia if it's legitimate, right? So I think a lot of guys are involved in construction, and they have construction companies, and they have house rehabs and stuff like that. Listen, the mob is always going to make money. There's a lot of street guys that I know that illegitimately make money, but if they can make legitimate money on top of it to launder illegitimate money, then that's what they're going to do. So to say that they're completely legitimate is like ludicrous. It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And once again, George Anastasia and Dave Ratweiser are, while they are journalists, I think that they are a little delusional about things, and I think they can't seem to stick on a topic. 1 minute Joey's a fucking gangster, the next minute Joey's retired. 1 minute this guy's that, the other guy's this. 1 minute this guy's in control, the next minute this other guy's in control. They have no idea what's going on. And they get a lot of their information from the feds. So that's just reality. I think if there is anybody talking on the streets to them, they're absolutely fucking idiots. And I think that needs to be handled. Loose lips sink ships. I don't think that George Anastasia writing an article that doesn't have it right, I don't think you need to pick up a phone and call them and correct them. I think you just let these assholes write whatever the fuck they want, and you just stay the fuck away from them. That's the way it should be, and I think that if that's the way that things were ultimately handled all the time, then you're not giving Anastasia any press if you don't talk to him. Let him write nonsense. Let him write bullshit. Who gives a fuck? Mind your business. Stay on your grind and earn your monies. That's the way it should be. But I think that there's a tendency to control a narrative, and that's not just here. That's in New York. That's everywhere. So Philly is not subject just to that rule itself or to that situation. But I think in reality, nobody should be talking to either one of those guys, especially Ratweiser. He's a complete fucking jerk off. That guy. Ugh. And George Anastasia is not much better. He really isn't. Because George Anastasia at one point was a good author, and he wrote good stories. But then somewhere along the line, he just started lying about everything and trying to make it sound different. When you call guys like John Vesey and Ron Previty good guys, you're a fucking degenerate. And that's my thing. You're going to say nasty shit about Joey, nasty shit about other people that I know or whatever, and then you're gonna put that fat fuck Ron Previty on a pedestal. It's pretty egregious to me. And I think that if you're gonna be a non-biased journalist, then everybody should be a piece of shit or everybody should be loved. You can't just pick and choose. But then he picks slimiest fucks to be fucking heroes. So from my perspective, they're full of shit. All right, who is more powerful, Felix Gallardo or El Chapo? El Chapo, hands down. Nobody can touch that guy. I'm sorry. He's just insane. Absolutely insane. All right. What is your take on the Chicago outfit's current position and their power and influence compared to the families of New York? They don't have any influence over New York. They never really have. They never really will. The main hub of power for Chicago was in the 1960s with the elections with JFK. There is a huge resurgence in Chicago organized crime. In fact, there's a couple of additional organized crime task forces looking into Chicago. But as far as how powerful they are, they're the Midwest mobsters. They control the Midwest. But do they have a ton of influence over New York? Absolutely not. They never really have. And it's not 1960 in Chicago, just like it's not 1980 in New York. So it's they're powerful, but they're not movers and shakers like they were in the 60s. The heyday for Chicago was the 1960s. And that's not to take anything away from them now, because they are powerful now, just in a different kind of way. They almost went from political to murder, back to political, back to murder, and that seems to be the way that Chicago goes. I love Chicago. I think Chicago Italians are the greatest people on this planet. I've been to Chicago many times, nothing but great people there. And listen, just because New York has always been synonymous with the Mafia doesn't mean that Chicago's not tough, doesn't mean that Chicago's not powerful, because believe you me, I wouldn't fuck with anybody from Chicago. And that's just straight up. That's just how I feel. Let's see. How difficult is it for people to stay on the lam for long periods of time these days? As long as they don't use credit cards or cell phones with their name on it, you could disappear very easily. Getting overseas is a little bit of a pain in the ass, but I think that it's a lot easier. I don't think it's easier today than it was in 1960. But it's not difficult. You just have to stay off the fucking radar. And it seems like guys that try to hide just can't. Beside Joe Colombo's book, which basically spelled out how the mob was organized, which incident do you think impacted the fall of the Mafia as we know it more? The Kafoffer hearings or Sammy the Bull? As far as Joe Colombo's book, I think that Joe Bonanno's book did a lot more damage because it gave the organizational structure of the commission to Rudy Giuliani, who then turned around and pretty much fucked the mob in the ass nonstop for years, put a shitload of people in prison. So I think that book was more devastating. I think the two things that impacted the mob Kafoffer hearings, Apalachian and Joe Valachi, are the three biggest fucking things that ever fucking destroyed the mob. Sammy Gravano didn't help either, but he destroyed a family, not the mob in general. All right. Who was more ruthless, more feared, and more powerful within the mob? Who had a better career? Who had a better career when they were boss, and who was the better boss, Sam Giancana or Joe Aiuppa? Sam Giancana was a joke. I think Joe Aiuppa was definitely more feared, more powerful, and the stronger of the two. And I think he had a bigger and better career. Sam Giancana got himself in a lot of hot water, liked to hang out with celebrities. He was banging the McGuire sisters, hanging out with Sinatra, threatened to kill Dean Martin on a fucking wiretap. So that was a guy that was a little reckless, to say the least. I think Giancana was bad for the Chicago mob, and ultimately he paid the ultimate price for that. Of the two, I think Joe Aiuppa was probably the better of the two. All right, looking forward to The Irishman. However, if you could pick one mob figure or subject, what would you like to see made into a film? Jimmy Burke. Now, I know that, Robert De Niro played a Jimmy Burke type of character in Goodfellas, but I would really like to see a film on Jimmy Burke. I think what Jimmy Burke was able to accomplish being Irish, the amount of power that he wielded, the amount of things he was able to accomplish, the amount of fear, the fact that he was given a green light to do whatever he wanted, to me, is kind of inspiring in a macabre kind of fucking way. I would really like to see a film that shows his atrocious childhood and just shows him, going up the ranks. I also think a film on Roy DeMeo would be fantastic. I think that Roy DeMeo is an interesting topic as well. Tony Salerno even would be a great topic. Tony Salerno was one of the wealthiest gangsters to ever have lived. He was a fucking genius with the numbers, a genius with business. I would love to see a film on him as well. All right. Let's see what else we got here. All right, why did the commission consult with Joe Bonanno before killing Carmine Galante? Is it because he was the last real boss alive? No. To my knowledge, they never consulted with Joe Bonanno. I don't know where that comes from. Joe Bonanno was no longer in the commission at that point. Joe Bonanno had been removed from the commission. In fact, the Bonanno crime family had been removed from the commission at that point. So the truth is they never went and asked Joe Bonanno a fucking thing. If they did, it was only in a conciliatory matter, meaning that they said to him, look, we're going to take care of this. What's your opinion? Because they still valued and respected his opinion. They just didn't want him in the Mafia or around the Mafia for any fucking reason. So I have a hard time buying that they would even reach out to him over that. But the reason why they probably likely did is because the Bonanno crime family at the time was importing major fucking narcotics, and taking out Galante would have caused a bit of a rift. And sort of they wanted to keep Bonanno around only because they wanted to use the trafficking lanes that Bonanno had established since the 40s. So that would sort of explain to me why. All right. How many points does the average loan shark charge for a loan? To my knowledge, between 6 to really on the streets, it's 9%, but I know people that are doing 6%. What makes a good loan shark? Somebody that could just keep the money coming in. The whole thing about, loaning money out is there's a percentage, there's a time period, and when they don't, you beat up a guy, you crack him with a pipe and a bat, he's going to run to the cops these days, or he's going to stop paying. And what you need to do is reinforce that you're tough, you're not going to put up with it, and just keep the money coming in. What sets them apart from people running as shy? It seems, if it's done right, that the hustle will never go away because a lot of people avoid banks. Is that because the interest rates are unreasonable? Just wondering in general, who is the most notorious for shylocking, et cetera, et cetera. Listen, people don't go to banks for the same reason people don't buy iPhones. Banks, not everybody can go to a bank. Some people have poor credit, and if they can go to the guy in the corner, banks, when you have horrible credit, banks are going to hit you for 15, 20, 19, 30% fucking interest. Mob guys aren't. They're going to hit you for 9% on the street, and you're going to pay the fucking 9% on a weekly basis, but you still owe the principal. So if you don't understand shylocking, it's like if I give you a $5,000 loan or whatever, you're paying me fucking between 6 and 9 points. So you're paying me $200 a week, but you still owe me the principal. You may pay me $200 a week for 6 weeks, then it goes up to 7 or 8 points, right? So then you're paying me more, but you still owe the initial $5,000. And so somebody that isn't paying gets beat up. They have two options: fucking pay in full or fucking run to the cops. And so what typically seems to happen, at least from my experience, is that people usually want to pay it all because they get scared. But see, a gangster doesn't want you to pay it all. He still wants that interest because that's how he makes his money. And his $5,000 to you, he's got $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 out to other people. And so it's just a racket that continues, and that's the difference. That's why shylocking is illegal. It's not illegal. It's illegal because, one, the government wants you to pay tax on it. The government wants you to sort of not add tons of interest rates. And the thing is like, what do you think a bank is? A bank is a fucking shylock. A bank can raise a fucking interest rate on you without even fucking telling you. All these mortgage fraud problems we've had with the banks and et cetera. People come in and they got a 20, 3%, 4% mortgage, 5% mortgage. Next thing you know, the bank's having problems with all their other loans, and all of a sudden you get 15% and they don't even have to fucking tell you. People have lost their homes. So the banks are shylocks. The difference is that if the bank doesn't get what they get coming to them, they don't break your fucking head. They simply just take your house and ruin your fucking credit. Whereas a gangster will give you a reasonable loan rate, lower than the banks ever would, but if you don't pay them, they're going to crack your fucking head. That's why it's illegal. But people have used loan sharks for a long time for gambling purposes and other things, and so that's just the way that rolls. All right. What amount of cash do you think it took for Carmine the Snake, Persico, and Joey Gallo to kill Anastasia? I don't think it took money at all. Carmine, first of all, always knew he was going to get rid of Joey Gallo. He always wanted to get rid of Joey Gallo. It was Gambino who sort of signed off on that deal. It was Gambino who wanted Anastasia out. And I think that it was an ends to justify the means for Carmine the Snake. I don't think it had anything to do with money. And as far as, let's see, do you think they did it just for the money, or in Gallo's case because he wanted to be a celebrity? Joey Gallo didn't really want to be a celebrity. Joey Gallo hung out in a lot of different circles. Joey Gallo's problem was he felt he was owed something. And Joey Gallo wasn't going to stop until he got what he felt he deserved. Did it help that he was hanging out with Jerry Orbach and all these celebrities? No. But it was always an ends to justify the means. Carmine Persico wanted him dead, and ultimately at the end of the day, Carlo Gambino would have signed off on that anyway because they used Joey Gallo to kill Anastasia, and et cetera, et cetera. So it had nothing to do with money. It had to do with the power grab. All right, let's see. Who is the most powerful or feared and respected, Luciano or Gambino? Most powerful, Carlo Gambino, hands down. Most respected, Carlo Gambino, hands down. Carlo Gambino didn't utter a word that was negative or disparaging about another boss. He kept his mouth shut. He stayed it low-key. He kept the money coming in. Luciano, one of these guys, got photoed a lot, dropped a dime on some people. So I think you got to look at the time period, too. When Luciano was really at his height, he was probably the most powerful guy in organized crime, right? But that didn't last. And I mean the totality of it. Luciano's the godfather of organized crime. You can't take that away from him. But I think when you move into when Gambino really came into power, which is like the 60s, nobody could touch that guy. Nobody could. He knew how to make money grow like a motherfucker. All right, do you think the Gemini twins will ever be released? And obviously you're talking about Anthony Center and Joey Testa. No. Both of them are doing life. They're never getting out. Bottom line. All right, the last question. All right, Roy DeMeo got taken out pretty easily when he must have known something was up. Why didn't he take anybody out with him? Listen, it's like a lot of other people, right? Sonny Black, same kind of deal. Roy DeMeo was an old school gangster. Roy DeMeo believed in the code. Roy DeMeo believed in the life. Roy DeMeo didn't believe in telling on people. Roy DeMeo believed that this is the life that he chose, and he would live or die by an oath. And say what you want about Roy DeMeo and being reckless and whatever other nonsense you want to say, but Roy DeMeo knew he was going to get killed. He could have ran, he could have ratted, he could have done all kinds of things, but he goes to the meeting knowing he's going to get killed. Sonny Black did the same thing. It's just the reality of the code. Like when I say that John Gotti went to prison for the rest of his life, didn't bat an eye, didn't say a word, laughed at the FBI's face, and died a miserable fucking life in prison with cancer. Those guys are not around today. There may be a handful of 400 guys. There's maybe 10 that are really like that believe in what they're doing. They believe in code. They believe in honor and all of that. But Roy DeMeo, he believed in it hardcore. And maybe in his own way, and I can't speak for Roy DeMeo because he's dead, God rest his soul, but he believed in something. He believed in what he did. He believed in the honor about it. Was he wrong for believing that? Maybe so. Should never trust people like that, but that's just the way Roy was. Old school guy. So he goes fully knowing what's going to happen to him. But that was the reality of the shit that he got involved in. It was the penalty for the nonsense that happened around him that he was responsible for. And he knew it. And so maybe in his own kind of way, he figured the ends was going to justify the means. And, he got what was coming to him. I don't know. I'm not in his mind. But I think ultimately that's why take out anybody? Because if you do take out anybody and they're not going to, let's say that you don't know for sure 100% if they're going to kill you or not. Why the fuck are you going to kill other people? Then you're going to definitely sign your death sentence. Then it's definitely going to happen. And so for Roy, it's just, some guys are just like that. There was a story years ago about a guy that got clipped, and the only thing he wanted was not to get shot in the face, and he wanted his shoes taken off. So it's like each person is different. Every gangster sees things a different way. And I think the reality is Roy was a stand-up guy in the end. And anybody that tells you that Roy was ratting and taping conversations is full of shit. Don't believe any of that. That nonsense gets repeated all the time. Roy made mistakes like every other gangster. That's it, All right, so all that being said, that is going to be it for this week's show. If I didn't get to your question, I will definitely get to it next week. We're going to have an all-new topic next week. All-new show and et cetera, et cetera. All I ever ask you to do on this show is if you like the show, go ahead and share it, like it. If you hate it, just say you hate it. But just share it. That's all I ever ask is for you to share. And definitely check out Scott William Collier's page on, he's on Facebook, True Crime Podcast, over on YouTube. There's links and stuff all over the place. I hope everybody had a great holiday. Hopefully, not all you ate too much. And we'll be back next week with an all-new show, more questions. Whatever questions were left over today will spill over into next week. And I think that's it. So have a great week, everybody. Stay warm, and we'll see you next week.